Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Dollars and Dreams, our podcast. We have today with us Arman Simonian, who is the co-founder and CEO of Exceed Forward, which is a digital marketing and consulting firm. And we're going to be just kind of discussing with you what knowledge you bring into marketing and where it starts. I think you had a question for him.
Yeah.
Particularly, you wanted to go first. I guess that's a very important question he wants to ask.
So. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I was wondering, how did you get into marketing? Where did you start?
Yeah.
How did it all start?
So marketing is something that I never saw myself getting into. It was never a career choice of mine. But I come from a family business. My dad was a jeweler, and around 2011, after the market crash, he took his business online. And being the youngest in the family, it was always on me. Hey, you're on Facebook, figure it out. Hey, you're on Instagram, which was new at that time, figure it out. And all the other, digital sites that came around, fancy.com. And it was kind of my job to figure things out online. And just as simple as posting a picture of a ring that he designed or something that he designed, and understanding how we can get it in front of the most amount of people and get exposure for our business. I ended up in college and chose to go the engineering route and didn't see myself doing that. So down the line, switched my major to marketing, something I had already over time naturally built skills in, and I definitely enjoyed it. And that's where I am now. It brought me to that point.
Very nice, very nice. So I guess we went from engineering to marketing.
Yeah. It's a global shift.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that. Nowadays, I don't know, they're saying that there's a lot of majors that people go into whatever their majors are in school, and then they end up doing totally different from what they actually studied to do, right? So, but what's the passion behind your company? What do you guys specialize in? What do you guys do that actually sets you guys apart, as far as the marketing side?
Yeah, absolutely. So Exceed Forward is actually a marketing and consulting company. So we want to figure out the best way to help you. So if you look at our slogan, it's Exceed with us. We help businesses regardless of the caliber they're at, whether they're a startup or they've been in business for 15 years and they want to know what's the next step. How can we advance? How can we get to either a digital presence, or how can we maximize the most of our investments? So if they're investing a marketing budget every day, they're putting Google ads in place, they're trying to spend the proper budget. We help them maximize those opportunities and get them in front of the most, not just the most clients, but also the clients that are going to convert for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have different kinds of products such as Google Ads, social media marketing, search engine optimization, which is SEO, Yelp, LinkedIn marketing, Facebook Meta, even Facebook Marketplace or Shopify, and it just ranges from everything in the digital platforms.
What is it that as far as marketing, we're trying, we're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much noise out in the market. Everybody's, especially on Instagram, TikTok, right? They're like, don't do this, don't do that, it almost seems like you cannot do anything.
Absolutely.
Because they're telling you not to do anything, or put it this way. Then the other guy is saying, don't do it this way because this is not getting you traction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, put music on, don't put music on. The other person says put captions on. The other says don't put captions on. What is the key getting more views or getting more exposures? What do you guys...
Yeah, obviously don't give out your secrets.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the answer no one would expect, but it's actually not, a cookie cutter answer. Whether someone tells you don't post too much or don't write too much in your captions or use hashtags, or hashtags no longer work. Instead of liking, saving now is apparently feeding the algorithm for Instagram. The key component to marketing is consistency. Be consistent and engage with your audience. So if you're starting up a business, let's just say you're a podcast, what kind of consumers are going to be watching your podcast? What are you targeting? What are your main consumer base? Who do you want to be in front of? If you're using the hashtags that are generalizing it to an entire population of 8 million, 80 million people, or everyone in the USA, you're going to end up in front of people who might not be interested in the product you're offering. So if you're mainly talking about, let's just say, insurance or mortgage loans, do you want to be in front of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds? That goes into the consumer base that Instagram unfortunately uses. And so you really want to target consistently on what you're promoting. So if you're going to use the hashtag route, go with hashtags that are kind of specific to your industry, but also broad enough to get in front of a big audience.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the hardest thing is figuring out, I guess,
the content.
The content, right? I think most important is the content. Hardest part is the content.
Yeah, of course it is. Especially editing, and there is so much that goes in the background that not everybody sees, right?
Yeah. There's the magic behind the work. So right now you're filming this podcast, but afterwards I'm sure it's not just this 30-minute video that you produce. It's 3 hours of hard work, hard editing, making sure the sound's right. I mean, what are some of the troubles you've had starting the podcast? How long do you put into it afterwards, right? So you're probably not just spending 30 minutes recording this and throwing it online.
That's what people think.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, you know what? We could do it. Well, they just get a camera and a microphone and just record whatever we talk about and just post it online. But they don't see the leg work.
It's a hard transition from filming. Even filming in itself is just the equipment, process. There's so much. Again, when we tried to start getting the idea of doing a podcast. It was just an idea, and then we just kind of jumped into it. And then we're looking into different things. What is good? We had another equipment, and then that was like it didn't really work, right? So and then you wasted maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you tried to fix all the mistakes.
And sometimes it's just not even worth trying to fix it. Just scrap it and start over.
We had a couple of setbacks, not failures.
Yeah,
setbacks.
Because last podcast we were talking about failures, and he hates that word. So
I just hate the word failure.
Failure.
Yeah,
he gets triggered on that.
He knows a lot about.
That's funny that you say that. It's actually one thing as a business owner that we consider is how long do you start a project and how long do you work on it until you consider it a failure?
Yeah.
Or a setback. And in an entrepreneur's mind, you don't consider it a failure because this is just one project you might work on, and then you'll jump on to the next one if this didn't work out. But then there's a lot of business owners, believe it or not, that they really want to make one idea work, and they won't let that go, and they won't consider that a failure, and unfortunately they won't meet their full potential trying out
they're just
other options. And
I just have a question for both of you guys. I just thought of it.
Again, a question for me too. You asked me 600 questions last time.
Do you guys think that marketing has advanced in the sense of, have there been any more marketing tools that are available for not to the consumer, but to business owners after, Instagram came out, after social media came out and all that? Obviously, there is some advancing. I know that.
Absolutely.
But has it been easier for other people to get to?
You want to go first?
You're the professional, so I'll just add to whatever you say,
sure.
right? So.
I mean, yes, it definitely has advanced. What we see in the industry is very different than what you might have seen 25 years ago, or let's go even further back. If you wanted to get in front of an audience, let's say 10 years ago, or not 10 years ago, maybe a little further back, let's say 20 years ago, you would pay the yellow pages and they'd put your business in a phone book. Now there's no phone books around.
Yeah.
It's not as easily accessible, but it's actually more accessible. Yellow Pages has a website. You can put your business on that website. Now, that's a digital platform. If you want to design it, you used to hire someone who was advanced in Photoshop or Illustrator, or tools of that sort. Now you have apps such as Canva where an everyday consumer can pick it up, throw in the picture they want. Oh, I like this font. It's so much easier. It's all in your phone. And you just create whatever you want and you can post that. you can market that on your Instagram page. So you don't necessarily have to go to 4 people now to create one content and push that one content out.
I mean, what I was trying to make it easier. The question I was just gonna ask: has it gone easier to market? Obviously, it has, because it's very accessible, right?
Yeah,
it's right on your phone. You could even just go on your Instagram or Facebook. You could just pay for ads, but not everybody knows the hashtags that they have to use, right? Not everybody knows how long of a video you need to have.
Sure.
That's where you come in.
You know, it's easier in the sense that everything is more accessible, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily easier to get your end result. Because although you can make everything, you know, just in your phone, you can make the post, you can make the Instagram ad, pay whatever budget you want, you're still competing with 1,000 other businesses in the area that are targeting the same consumers at times, targeting the same zip codes, the same state even, and it could be an industry where everything is so saturated. So, for example, in Los Angeles, we have over 100 body shops, over 200 body shops at places. Just along the strip of Lancashire, you might have 30 dealers. Or I think there's a thing where dealers are supposed to be next to each other. So if you're a dealer and you're trying to sell an Infiniti over a BMW, you're competing on the ads that BMW's budget is paying for. And BMW on vice versa, they're competing with Infiniti's paid ads.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier at the same time. It just depends on the person, right? Let's say a lot of business owners, let's say where it says Convo, right? That particular app, I use a lot of our stuff. I designed everything almost on it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the posts, a lot of the ads, because it's already there. All you do is you plug and play. But a lot of people don't have the savviness even to get it done. Like you said about Photoshop. Like I went to school for arts, right? Graphic arts and so on and so forth. This is a long time ago. This is when computers were at 16 megabytes, and that was like the top of the line, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we used to have those big discs.
The floppy discs?
Not even there was a floppy, but when you did graphic arts, there were like the bigger, thicker ones. I forgot what they were called. So we used to have those. And like at those days, Photoshop was not affordable.
It wasn't.
It was very expensive. I don't know exactly how much it was, but I think it was in the thousands. You know, now you can get it for 19 bucks,
$20
for the year.
For the year, right? Or so. It's still cheaper, let's say, because you can just do it as you go, and students, they get discounts. But back in those days, all the professionals had those.
Yeah.
So you couldn't design it. And even if you have it, like, you know, I know some of the things that you do it, but you still have to have experience. You can't, normal person cannot just sit there and kind of create whatever they want, because you're not going to be, unless you spend like maybe 40 hours on it.
Yeah.
So even though it's easy, but at the same time, you still have to put time, right? So that's, sometimes people don't have the time. That's why you guys exist.
Yeah.
Because you guys, that's what all you do with your time. You know, create the ads, create the designs. And as far as the marketing goes, right? What do you think, you know, of course we don't want to know your trade secrets, right? But maybe we do. I don't know. But
we'll talk about it
afterwards. Right?
When the cameras are off.
Yeah, when the cameras off. But what do you suggest? Let's say, for example, when a client comes in, let's say if we were doing a consultations with you, right? What are the things that from the get-go, knowing what every business already does? Because, you know, almost everybody's in the same area, right?
Yeah.
We come to a point where, you know, you can't exceed from there unless you have somebody in-house that's
unless
doing
you exceed with us.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing. Where do you see the clients plateau? Like, what is the thing where they go, you know what, every person that comes in, and I'd say 9 out of 10, this is the max level they get, and beyond that they need, you know, and then you can take those from there to exceed it from being where they are to where they need to go.
Absolutely. That's actually a really good question. There's a few factors into it. So when you consult with us, we're just like a doctor. You go into a doctor's office for the first time, they give you an intake form. So we're going to give you a questionnaire where we're asking some of the main pain points. Where are you at right now? Where do you want to be? And what are you going to do to get there? How do we get there? And that's the question we really want to answer. How do we get there? And one of the things that we see with businesses plateauing is that it's never a consistent reason. There could be reasons of we're not making enough money, so we can't put in the proper budget to run this business anymore. How do we maximize whatever budget we have left? Or there might be an industry change, such as, my family business, which was jewelry. What happened in the industry was Facebook was sold to Meta, or the Meta takeover happened, and once the business platform changed into the Meta platform, we started realizing that what we were paying before for ads is no longer reaching the same amount of consumers that it was once reaching. So if you look at our numbers from 2015 to 2016, our numbers significantly dropped because the majority of the consumers who were buying with us, they were coming through Facebook. Now, if you're putting $1,000, you might have reached 50,000 people before. Now you're reaching 2,000 people. So the bid strategy just becomes very competitive, and if you don't have that extensive of a budget, you're going to eventually collapse. That's another thing that happens. And we're in an economy where we saw so many changes over the last few years. The pandemic really hurt a lot of brick and mortars, especially small businesses. I used to be in banking at that time, and I would see a lot of customers that I regularly help, business customers. They no longer could operate because they lost the employees, or they were forced to close down. They were forced to shut their doors for a bit, and they just couldn't keep up. So it's never a really static approach to what the problems are, but there's definitely a point where it plateaus and they want to grow. And sometimes it's whether they've been in the business for 15 years and they've been used to doing things a certain way, they're not used to the change that's coming with this digital world, with AI. And so they want to understand, how do we get to that next level?
So is it that, when you said about the amount of money you put in, right?
Yeah.
So is there any significance in that? As far as, let's say, for example, if we're a company and let's say our budget is $500, let's say, right? And versus, let's say, if you change that to, let's say, $2,000, $3,000, will that make a significant change in the algorithms, or will that change anything within their platform?
Yeah.
Does that have any effect on as far as how you're going to be discovered? Since you're spending more, maybe they give you more attention?
Absolutely. So if you're a business that only focuses on Instagram, it could be as simple as maximizing your ad budget. So if you're used to putting $500 a week, now you put $2,000. Instagram will show you exactly an estimate amount of people you're going to reach, or profiles that are going to be in that area to see your ad, and it will push it, whether it's through a story or a post. It'll put it on people's timelines. So that's one way of looking at it. Or if you have a $500 budget, now you suddenly have $2,000, $3,000 that you want to throw into marketing, throw into a marketing budget. You have more options now. If $500 was a consistent Instagram budget and you want to leave it there and experiment with other platforms, maybe you can start doing YouTube ads. You can start doing Google ads and competing that route, or you can pay for SEO on your website. It depends if you can find the right expert to get you there. The other thing is TikTok. TikTok ads is a thing now, and TikTok already has a strong algorithm itself. Once you start being consistent with TikTok and it picks up your video and it suddenly goes viral, you're going to want to feed that algorithm and you won't need ads. But TikTok ads won't hurt you either. You just have a broader variety of what you can get into with a bigger budget.
So what you're saying is, if you diversify it, obviously you'll have a little bit of, it doesn't matter if it's 5, that you still, if you diversify it, you might get a better result.
Absolutely.
Instead of just having, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000 within one platform.
Absolutely.
Right. So, okay, because that's what what I was interested in. That is because a lot of times I think a lot of these platforms, of course, when you put more money, they want you to spend money.
Of course.
So I was wondering, is it when you increase that amount, do they kind of turn off that restrictions if they had any? if you were putting 500, where it's like, okay, if you were putting $500, they give you enough, right? Because obviously they block you at a certain point, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's a cap that you have in each categories. So I'm thinking of, do they increase that cap dramatically, or is just like, they still have that incremental?
There's the incremental for sure. But the one thing that a lot of businesses will confuse is that none of it is guaranteed. So you can spend $500 or you can spend $8,000 and on the same Instagram ad, and you might not get one conversion out of it if the consumers don't click on it. So the expectation should be, yes, I'll get more exposure, but it's not guaranteed that it's going to convert, which is an unfortunate reality. Of course, the biggest investment is your money. You want to invest it, and if you're investing with us, you're investing it for our time, for our experience, for our consulting experience, our marketing experience, and it's not beneficial for us or the business if we can't convert your ad or your ideal campaign.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, whoever puts the money, right, the business owner, they spend the money, They expect to get results back. But what they don't understand is that, if it doesn't work, it's not your fault, right?
Yeah.
It might be the algorithm, or it doesn't catch the algorithm. I mean, there's no fingers to be pointed.
I mean, you got to try it. It's just
you have to give it a try. Marketing is a risk too.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a risk. It's the same as going into business. You never know if your business is going to be successful.
Exactly.
And if you know that, come to us because we want a successful business. But you never know if your business is going to be successful. And if you go into it with the expectation that you're going to be a billionaire at the end of the day, it's going to be a hard reality that doesn't happen. And with marketing, of course, we want to test the best route. So the good thing that there is in marketing is data. There's experience and there's research. A lot of businesses will go in and just throw their money into marketing thinking, okay, if I just put my $500 budget and target LA, I'm automatically going to reach everyone and I'm going to, reach that consumer base. But what they don't understand is that there's tools for them available to show what they can do without even going to a company like Exceed Forward. There's tools to them available that they can maximize and utilize to find out, okay, what should I target better? Does this work better or not? So, for example, you can download apps like ChatGPT and ask them what is the most successful top 10 keywords in, I don't know, trading card companies. And it might tell you target Michael Jordan instead of, say, Dwayne Wade, and you'll get more exposure. So there are those kinds of tools, and of course more detailed tools that are paid that you can go target towards.
But does it make that as generic, or is it like organic? Because like if everybody is using it now, doesn't that become saturated?
Sure.
Where it's like, because everybody can go in, and I mean obviously a lot of people do, then doesn't that make it even harder if you follow that trend?
It does make it harder if you choose a broad enough trend, but if your business is specific to something and it has a tight niche, you can actually go into that niche and, get as detailed as you want and hopefully find better results. But that's an alternative for companies that are just starting off. Yeah. If you've been in the business for 10 years and any given business, and you've seen the ups and downs, you've seen what's worked for you, what hasn't, you might know a little better where to put your money towards. But if you're just starting off, you want to pierce the market and come in strong and take out your competitors or even compete with your competitors and rank up, it's better to do some homework going into it. And if you come in no research, you might throw away a lot of money before you even get what you're aiming for, whether you're an author, you're trying to sell a book, or whether you're a historian trying to talk about a new topic.
I think it's a trial and error, right? I think what the best thing I think for companies to do is a lot of times, when they go to marketing groups or for example the consultations and stuff, they think, oh, you know what, I can do everything they can do. I think the best possible thing is just once you do it yourself and you find out like so many hurdles and so many things, so many changes that comes in, because I've been like doing my son's channel and certain things, and I thought it was easy, right? But once you go into it, you're like, man, these things take time. It's such a time-consuming thing, where you have not only just posting. Even now, when we're posting and stuff, I try to be as organic as possible. Not feed it in, because sometimes I feel like, for example, if you have a platform that feeds it to everything at once, now is that good or is that bad?
When you say feeds it to all at once, what do you mean by that?
Let's say, for example, you put the video in, there's, I think, I haven't tried those.
Like
right?
the automated tools?
Yeah, automated tools, when it just feeds it to, let's say, all the Instagram, let's say Twitter, X, and then what else is there? Facebook. And it goes all at once with one click. I feel like if you're doing it that way, there's something triggering maybe on the algorithm too, where it's coming from a big platform. They kind of slow you down maybe.
I haven't heard of anything of that sort where it slows you down, but I think if you're a one-man show, or if you have a marketing team that you work with, it's actually good to automate things, because you can go in, shoot all your content on a Sunday, and then edit it, finish it up, and then post everything for the next 3 days and automate it, and worry about what can I do in my week to focus on either the results or what else you might need for your company.
So it frees up time basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because that's why I had the stigma on
where
it.
time management comes in.
Exactly, right? But I mean, like, sometimes I feel like if it is, I feel like there's something behind it where
like
it might, not a catch, but like, when they see that so many of the videos are coming from one source, right?
Absolutely.
Or, one channel or one thing. And they might, if they have something against that, that group of, let's say, softwares, right? Yeah. I feel like that could happen, so I don't know. I'm a spectacle, so it just,
I'd have to look into that, because I've actually never heard of it kind of downplaying your video or, downgrading your content because it's automated. I would think hopefully it would be the other way around. I would think they would promote that a little more.
That was the interesting part of it to me, because I'm like, could it be because, it just feeds it once, where they don't know who's feeding it?
Yeah.
If it's a real person feeding it, or if it's an organization feeding it.
Like AI.
Yeah. Or,
they have this installed and it's going and going.
We use crazy. A lot of AI stuff now.
Yeah, but
and it's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing and crazy at the same time how fast it does it. It's just...
The clips.
Yeah.
It creates clips, man. If we were to sit there and kind of, because to create a clip, you have to look through the whole video.
Yeah.
This thing does it for you I upload it
within minutes.
Oh my God. It's just like in 2 minutes max, you get an email says, go take a look at your videos, and you can edit, you know what I mean? It's just, and that's the problem, is a lot of things automated, and what's going to happen? How does it affect you guys? Does it help that?
That's
in
actually
the field, or is it hurting you guys as well, or how does that work with
that's
your
actually
industry?
A really good question. It's adaptability. It might be beneficial to us because it can automate our tools that we're using right now, and it could speed up the process. But it could also hurt us, because now if a lot of business owners are adaptable and they adapt to this, especially I want to say a younger consumer base that's going into business now, or younger business owners that are used to the technology that's around. If they start utilizing this, maybe they won't ever need to hire a marketing team. You can go into ChatGPT, ask them for a business plan, give them everything you need, and it'll tell you step by step on what to do. So it kind of eliminates needing a consulting company, or needing a marketing company. But the one thing, and I actually was recently at a conference where they discussed this, I think the one thing that AI so far lacks, and which, it's going to come a point where eventually it'll do it, but it's the lack of judgment. It's the lack of experience that you and I have. So we might go into a problem that AI also looks at. It'll give a quick solution, but it might not give the solution that you were exactly looking for, because it lacks the judgment that you had.
Yeah, it's just generic answer to your question.
Exactly.
It just pulls up, okay, this is the best answer for that, but it could not be the best. It might be the wrong answer for it.
Absolutely. So, I think AI, there's definitely going to be jobs that get eliminated, but it's also going to create some jobs.
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to create jobs for sure. I think for younger audiences who are going into high school or, college, you should get into the tech field because they're going to need programmers who are going to either build against AI or build for AI.
But talking about programming, right? You can literally need no experience in programming. Mm-hmm. And you can actually, let's say you can get a job and they'll tell you, okay, you know what? We need an interface to do this. So what you can do is you can go to AI and say, I want an interface, this. And it'll give you a code.
Absolutely.
My son does it like yesterday too. Him and his cousin, they're creating a game. And they needed certain parts to it, certain things into it. Now he was doing another code. He literally coded at least 60 lines of coding because that particular thing was coded. So all he did was, and I was like, you know what? I have the app on my phone and stuff. He's like, Dad, I already got it. It's fine. Right? He knows exactly where to get it, how to get it. And he was just coding and stuff. He was sitting there and coding everything. And I was like, make sure you don't put anything wrong in there because it might not work. He goes, Dad, I know. Don't worry about it. It's like, imagine if it's a 9-year-old already coding.
Yeah.
Right. So eventually, I think the coders, right. But I think in you guys' position, they're always going to be in need of consultation.
Absolutely.
Or, marketing and stuff. No matter how advanced we've gone to, the times we were coming up, our marketing was what? Mailers. Flyers. And then, I don't know, some Facebook
billboards.
Was kind of billboards, right? But at the same time, you still needed consultations because you need the guidance, right? You need to know, like I was asking you, if you put this much money, this much. There's so many technicalities in the marketing field. And I think it's good for people to do it because once they do it, I think those are the best clients.
Yeah.
Because they already gone through the pain. Unless they're like very successful at what they're doing, which I don't think a lot of companies do still lack things, But I think that's consultation will be still here,
Yeah. I think mailers have died down.
You'd be surprised.
Serious?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, look at all the companies that you open your mail and you get a loan offer for $30,000 private loan. Those are all mailer campaigns.
I know, but me personally, whenever I get mailers like that, I just rip it right away and just toss it in the trash.
Of course.
Because maybe I don't need it. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think it has died down unless...
Maybe compared to what it was 30 years ago, it's definitely shrunk a little bit, but there are definitely industries that still utilize it heavily. And there are companies like, Chase and Bank of America who definitely send offers every day. The credit card offers that you get.
Real estate guys.
Real estate.
What they were saying is actually there was this one guy and he said, one of the things that I do now, which is more successful than anything else, he's like, I don't know how true it is, right? Because, it's the internet, so anything could be true.
Did you read it or did you watch it?
No, I watched it, right?
Okay.
So, I don't read that much anymore. And, he was saying that since the time that, the mailers stopped going out as much, right? He goes, the best thing to do now is to do mailers because you're not competing with 40 other companies every week.
Sure.
So now the only mailer they're getting is you. So no matter if they see it or not, if you consistently send it, it's their message sticks with their head. Even though you're ripping, what are you doing? Is you're reading, right?
True.
While you're ripping, you're like, oh, this guy, oh man, this guy again sent me this thing, right? And then you throw it again. Next weekend, it comes again. You're like, God damn it. But every time you're doing that, it's imprinting into your mind.
You're seeing the same face come up.
Exactly.
I just got a good idea for our podcast, marketing our podcast. We send out mailers with a huge QR code on it,
Yeah.
They scan it, just random houses.
What's funny?
Scan it and, they just listen
They did
to
that
us.
on the T-shirts. This guy was putting it on the back of the T-shirt. That's what I was thinking of doing our T-shirts. Just do the barcode. And people usually will say, what the hell is this barcode, right? And on the top you say, do not scan. I bet you everybody's going to scan it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, just use a psychological thing. And hopefully they don't use it. I patent that already. So
yeah. It's like whenever you see a
Trademark it.
t-shirt and it says, stop me, I'm buying something. If you're at a
Yeah.
trade show and it says, stop me, I sell solar panels. And
nobody's going to stop you. Nobody
Exactly.
stops a sales guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this is doomsday.
Talking about, good marketing tactics. What are some of the good marketing strategies that you've seen? I know I don't.
no, it's tough because it's
He's gonna charge us.
some cool
He's gonna
stuff.
charge us
that
afterwards.
you've seen. Some cool stuff that you've seen that
How
you
about
were
that
like,
consulting fee first? No,
Greg,
go ahead, send me the invoice. It's fine.
Come on,
Okay.
Greg.
Do you know if this is off? This is off. What do they call it? Off cam, not off camera, but off the record.
Off the
right?
record. Off the record.
We don't want to get charged.
One thing that I've noticed is if a brand, it's brand image, brand awareness. If a brand has someone they can connect to. So if you're a brand, let's just say you're a car's sales agent, and all you're doing is posting pictures of cars you're selling, there are 30 other agents that are posting the same cars, similar deals, and every single one of them follow majority of the people in the area. So if I'm a consumer and I look at it, I just keep skipping and skipping each one of them because I'm tired of seeing the same Toyota Corolla 30 times on my Instagram. But then there's these guys who will go on and they'll show their face and they'll talk to you about why this car and why this deal is special right now. And as a consumer, I might stop and listen to that guy because now I'm connecting with somebody at that company. It's not just auto dealership, it's this person's auto dealership, and it's personality. It builds brand personality. If you throw some sense of humor in it, that might even work better. So oftentimes
Or slap each other or something.
yeah, if you throw some sort of like humor in it where it's gonna attract your audience even more, that it's not just, hey, this guy's trying to sell me something, but hey, he's kind of funny, so let's give him a chance and we'll watch more of his content to laugh, and you'll eventually find yourself buying something.
Talking about that, like a couple of days ago, I was scrolling through TikTok on my free time, obviously.
Not at work, huh?
Not at work. Because I know you're just gonna bother me when you see me on free, you're gonna bother me. But I was scrolling through TikTok. I saw there was this couple of girls that were on the Chevy dealership.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, the Chevy dealership workers or saleswoman. She goes and hits the car. It's just like they make funny clips like that.
Yeah.
So when they create things like that, it makes you want to watch it because you're like, okay, this one was funny. Let me look at the next one.
Absolutely.
But does that what I always think is, does that constitute to sales, or is just that moment of entertainment?
I think it's brand awareness. It's
just
entertainment.
because it's Honda, and it just people are still seeing it and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing that we've noticed too. Recently, a lot of brands with their brand account, they will have the most obnoxious, most arrogant comments out there that you would never imagine it would get accepted. So you'll be on Twitter and Wendy's will start commenting on your post saying that's the worst sandwich you've had, come to Wendy's. You'll see them doing things like this and you're like, wait, but this works. So I think it's that whole comedy aspect, the whole personality aspect.
Yeah, they were saying it too, where when you see a lot of the pages of big companies, let's say McDonald's, they never have their burgers on McDonald's. Like most of their posts are, there's no food on it. Let's say Starbucks, most of the things they have is mostly
the accessories.
Yeah, it's just they don't have. It's like whatever they're selling, they're not pushing that. They're pushing more of the culture, the backstory of people, whatever, the satisfaction, or it's just I think it's the whole story. But with that said, when you say the brand awareness, right? Let's say if you were doing a podcast, right? What are some of the things you would do that will make you stand out?
No, he's definitely gonna send you an invoice.
Since we're off the record, so that's why. Greg, now you told him, so he's gonna do this. So I was trying to get it, sneaky,
Absolutely. So I mean, with I was gonna say broadcasts, podcasts. I feel like it's gonna matter on who your consumer base is again. If you're going to target a deep conversation, you have to understand that maybe not every consumer wants to hear about that. So, for example, Joe Rogan, he has very interesting podcasts, and I might enjoy listening to it. But if I'm having a long day after work and it's just my drive home, I might shut that off because I don't want to start thinking about how the planets align and, all this interesting material. So you really have to understand who you want to target. And
as far as not even the targeting part, because I guess with a podcast, they have to see your clips. They have to, because that's they're listening.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to do anything in other aspects of it, right? So is there anything special that you can, let's say, on Facebook or on Instagram, other than your clips? What, like, maybe 2 things you would do different, other than showing our clips, right? Let's say, because it's, we're going to have guests. Obviously, you're a guest.
Yeah.
Other than those things, we don't have, it's everything is about the podcast, right? It's all about us and about the guests and stuff. So what do you do to switch that up?
Couple things I will say, since you guys are recently starting to post more and more, be consistent. That's number one. But what I would change is do a cliffhanger. If you're talking about a really interesting topic and you know that answer is coming, stop your video at that, so that everyone who was just watching that video and wants to know the answer has to tune in to watch your actual podcast to hear it. And that way you'll gain traction to wherever your platform is, whether it's on, are you guys on YouTube and Spotify?
Everywhere, man. Spotify, Apple.
This guy texts me every day saying we're on this platform.
So
we're on
I
this
put
platform
in
now.
Yeah, so you just have to have that cliffhanger.
Amazon,
so they tune in.
everything. So we've all of them, because of course I use the RS feed.
Yeah.
So that one of the best things about that one is just it just sends it out to every place, and of course you have to set up some of the things, like Apple. That one was just you had to go through the loops, and to get it to connect each other.
Sure.
So it takes a little bit of time in that sense, but once I put it in there, it just feeds it off.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. In that aspect, it's so easy because you just click.
And that's it.
And everybody can find you everywhere.
Give us a couple of months. Next thing you know, we're on Power 106.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Hopefully we'll own Power. So we'll have our own broadcast, like, Joe Rogan can come to us.
Absolutely.
And we can get invited. But, everybody starts somewhere, right?
Sure, of course.
There's no way.
It's trial and error.
Just like, when you said broadcast, right? And how podcast had started. Do you guys know the story on that?
I don't.
No, I actually don't.
Okay. Because Steve Jobs actually was the one who created the podcast. Because they had the iPod and then cast that they put it together as podcast.
Wow.
So that's what one of his speeches there is like, and it's so funny because he was trying to explain what they're bringing and what they're doing, as far as like, it's like explaining what podcasting is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, you're on your iPad, you can watch or, and then you can listen to it. It's a broadcast, but it's not actual broadcast. It's a pod. So it's kind of that podcast.
That is interesting.
So one of those things that came about from Steve Jobs as well. Obviously somebody's idea. If some people will say, "Oh, he didn't create anything," right?
Yeah.
But obviously he revolutionized everything.
Of course. And it's funny to think where it started 25 years ago. It didn't even exist. Now everybody, watches them. One way or another, you're watching some sort of podcast now. Whether you're on TikTok and you see a short, right, a little snippet of it, or you enjoy watching one specific podcast and you watch every episode they put out.
Yeah. Everybody, it's such a good message, I think, because everybody brings in, like me and Greg, we always want to do organic stuff.
Absolutely.
We don't try to bring, those generic, hoorah, 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 the kind of things, be organic as possible to give the information, to kind of give something simple, like that everybody can understand.
Absolutely. And, they'll take away some value out of the podcast. I feel like there's a lot of podcasts out there that it brings no value. It's just you want to watch it and laugh.
Enjoy
it, yeah. Which is not bad at all times either. But
especially the environment we're in, everybody needs a laugh because everything else is...
Whenever I play a podcast in my car, I want to listen to a podcast that the host that's sitting in.
So you don't even listen to us?
Of course I do.
Just want to make sure.
Why you gotta put me on spot like that?
Yeah.
Sure. No, of course I do. Even though I hate hearing my own voice, right?
Everybody does.
Oh man,
I refuse
hate
to watch
seeing-
this episode after.
You know, like, all the pictures that I have of myself with, let's say, with my fiance or with my family members, this and that, I just have it in my phone. I never go back, and I don't go back and I don't look at it.
That's why I take picture. I have my wife take pictures with someone else. It's like I hate myself though, but everybody's like that though. Nobody. I hate taking photos. It's just.
I like them. I have 25,000 selfies just in my phone.
Says the one that's camera shy.
Yeah. But he's like, you know what? I'm very, I'm not selfish or anything, but I just have a lot of selfies.
Yeah.
Only 10 photos of everything else.
Yeah. Because it's like a lot of
25,000
people
just
put foods, right? So a lot of.
Yeah, but who cares what you're eating?
I know. I just.
What
don't
if you take a picture with your food?
What, like a selfie?
unless you're marketing, right? I think if you're in that business, but I think everybody somehow wants to be that next star, right? The next food guru or something, like.
I mean, think about it. Who doesn't like food?
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to share?
But I just every time I look at those, I just scroll through because I mean maybe unless somebody else.
There's some whenever they post some nice looking steak at a nice restaurant. Obviously, you want to be like, "Hey, where's that?
Where'd you get
or
that?"
Unless you're hungry.
You're always hungry. Like you as in like you as a human,
Why,
you're always hungry.
Because of my weight,
I didn't want you to get offended.
Hey man, in today's climate, you can't say stuff like that.
I'm always he is offending me already.
No,
we're very sensitive at this.
Freedom of speech, all right.
We'll edit this out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think marketing it's such a. Everybody thinks they're good at it. I think everybody. Meaning not like consultants and like companies and stuff, like personal people, and because of the tools, it's just insane because they're like, oh, we can do this, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the graphic designers are probably hurting. Like I mentioned when I went, at that time when I was starting, it was like the starting commission, starting salary was like 80.
You've been on commission for such a long time.
Yeah, and thank God I didn't do it because like 80. It was like 85 starting commission because it was such a big demand.
Yeah.
Right. And then when the programs went cheaper, the computers became available more and more because my first computer was like $5,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
My dad paid like $5,000 for it. It was an NEC, 16 megabyte because 32 was too expensive.
Yeah.
And you look at it, 16 megabytes. Can you imagine having a 16 meg?
It was one of those box computers.
Yeah, my son has a 500 and 59 or 29 gigabytes. The guy runs out of space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like he has to delete some of the stuff and he'll get pissed off. I got him like a
external.
I got him a game computer, but that lags sometimes because he records everything he does. I'm like, dude, just delete the stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
So the marketing is, I think, that everybody thinks they're good at, they're masters at, and has that like. Is it gonna but do you guys have tools that you guys always ahead of? Let's say an average Joe that might be there that can exceed, but then you can
Absolutely.
What are the touches that you guys specially do?
So with Exceed Forward, one of the things that actually differentiates us from our competitors and from an average marketing team is that we are a team of 4 that has different expertise. So what we've done first is looked at our competitors. Do we have competitors that are offering every single product we're offering? And what we found is just in the LA area, there's a lot of competitors, not only with a client base we might want to work with, but also with the tools that we want. But we've only found a very limited amount that actually has an all-in-one suite. So what I mean by that is, for myself personally, I'm an expert in Yelp. I'm an expert in social media. But when it comes to Google Ads, it's a gray area for me. I understand it, but I wouldn't be the person that would directly handle your Google Ads. And then we have 3 other team members who have their expertise. And with that, we offer a broad range of services. So an average marketing team, if you go to a company and they have maybe 12 people, well, why do they have 12 people? Because they have experts in every field, whether it's a content creator, user interface, user experience, designer, and essentially as a marketing firm, that's what we are. We're that team that most companies either can't afford to pay for all those salaries or they don't have the resources. They don't know where to hire those kinds of people to put them all in one roof.
How long does it take? Let's say, for example, when somebody's doing marketing and hiring somebody to do it, like before you said earlier, say, like some people don't know when to quit and when they know they failed. Right?
Absolutely.
How long do they, and some people just quit too early and they fail, right? Because they can't go further or they don't see a vision, right? How long do you think people should give themselves time for them to see actual results, because at least, let's say if you hire somebody and you're like, oh, you know what, 2 weeks, it's not working.
Absolutely.
And then people quit, right? What is that time that they should give themselves for them to know that actually it's going to start working? What is that point that is the golden, I guess...
That golden timeline
that they should at least have within their budget or within their frame time?
Sure. I think it's just a matter of what form of marketing you're going towards. So I'll give you a couple examples. With SEO, if you're just doing, let's say, on-site SEO, you're writing blogs for your website and you're trying to organically grow that way, you need to have a realistic understanding as the business owner that this could take anywhere between 6 months to 9 months. For you to even pick up a little bit of traction. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit all the amount of people you want on your website. So, for example, for you, it's a podcast, right? So what your ultimate goal is for them to watch the podcast, you might have a website, you might run SEO traffic there, and for you to hit that target of, let's say, 5,000, it might take months. It might take 3 months, but it might also take up to a year. You need to be realistic. Do I have a year that I'm willing to spend this much time and resources towards? That's number one. Or if, let's say, we're on Yelp, you could put a marketing budget towards, let's say home services. If you're in home services, you could put a marketing budget towards home services on Yelp. If your expertise is, let's say, roofing, you have to understand that because of how broad Yelp can get, it'll send you clients who want the new staircase. So it's going to be completely random and might go towards that budget. So you have to first determine what your end goal is, what the numbers you want to reach are, and then do your homework in terms of how long is it going to take me to get there, which was your question, right? If I go the SEO route, how long will SEO get me? And that's where the expertise comes in. I don't think an average person is going to get you the SEO results that you want unless you do your extensive homework, which as a business owner, now if you're already focused on, let's say, selling your product or getting your product out there, you don't want to learn an entire new trade to get your product out there.
Absolutely. That's where you guys come in and create that. No, I mean, that's because there's so much noise in the social networks.
Absolutely.
People are guaranteeing you crazy stuff. Oh, I can give you this much. I can give you that much. I can bring you this. I can bring you that. And obviously, a lot of them are mostly, I think, false advertising.
Sure. Of course they are.
Which is kind of it. It kind of deters everybody because now nobody believes in anything.
Yeah.
Which is an unfortunate part of it. That's why I was like, when you guys consult with people, what is that? What is that thing that you guys teach? Which is, I think that's what you get as a consultant, going at a consultant versus going something that is just random, or you doing the whole thing.
Absolutely,
that's the benefit. Do you guys do like a retainer type of things also as well, or let's say, do you guys attach yourself at companies or at certain things, or how do you, do you guys do any of those types of things, like ventures?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it really depends on the business model. We've had some clients that are just contingency based where they only need one project and it's not going to require too much of our time, or even if it requires a lot of time, once we're done with that project, we'll kind of say, okay, you know what, you do your thing. We don't need to hold hands with you and, you know, continue and see the results because this is all you wanted. But there are also clients who have a long-term goal and they see it as, okay, now we're partners in this moving forward, and they'll sign up with you on a month-to-month basis, or they'll get a 1-year contract in place. So we kind of do all of it. We try to stay away from the contingency base just because depending on the size of the project, it might actually be, you know, us putting in so much more time than what we're actually going to get out of it. And that's our standpoint. Even though we're marketing and we're consulting and we need to help businesses, we also have to understand that we're a business too. We need to help ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
So if we go in and do let's say a website, and that website's going to take us 3 months because the client might want to change 15 different features, and we took a payment up front and we're not charging them for anything else, and we're constantly updating and doing maintenance, that might actually cost us more in our time than it did with the initial website fee that we charged.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, you know, what do you guys roughly charge, or how do you guys have a payment structure that you guys go by whenever it comes to, you know, charging your consumer?
Yeah. So with our clients, we have customized packages. What we like to do is we'll have a set fee. So for example, a website might be based on how many pages it is. It might be like $500 per page. If it's just a landing page, whatever the rate might be at that time. And then we'll create a custom package if you need multiple different things, and we'll give you the best bulk deal in a sense. So if you need SEO on your website, you need your website fully redesigned, or if you don't even need a redesign, you just need maintenance on that website. You want to build your Instagram, your Facebook, your YouTube channel, and you want a whole spiel, you'll essentially get more value out of it because we're going to charge you less. But if you come to us and say, hey, I need my website built. Now we build you a website that might be, let's just say $3,000. And then 4 months later, you say, hey, I need my Facebook built. We might charge you what our actual, you know, singular price is as opposed to that group bundle you were going to get.
Interesting.
Yeah. So long term, you might end up spending more money. And, you know, we're very transparent. We tell that up front. We ask them what they might need. We give them the rates. We give them multiple packages just based on how much traffic they want. So, for example, with SEO, if we're doing blog posts, we'll tell them, you know, 8 blogs is this much. And then, you know, the more you add, it might be more. But if they need 4 blogs instead of 8, they'll know that they're going to pay upfront more. And, you know, we give them multiple package options, and they make the decision based on what they actually need or what they can afford at that time.
I have a question, and I'm sure you do have an answer for this. There's a lot of marketing firms out there.
Sure.
And there's a lot of consultant firms out there as well. What would you say that makes you and Exceed stand out from any other guy out there? Any other
absolutely.
marketing firm out there?
That's a good question. And with Exceed Forward, we've taken a lot of time to actually get to know our competitors on a personal level. So I'm not going to say anything that's going to be derogatory towards them, because we actually got to meet some of them in the area, and, you know, they're really nice people. So we get along with having that relationship there, and we actually do business with them. So if they have a client that we can help, or we have a client they can help, we'll pass each other business that way. But what differentiates us, again, is that component that we have 4 people who have different levels of expertise in different areas. And on top of that, the team that we have has personality. Now, what we've noticed is there may be a team that one person is really extroverted, another person is very introverted, and sometimes we don't get to meet all of the partners, or we don't get to meet the people who are behind the scenes. With us, it's not like that. If you want every single member involved, if you want to know what's going on with your website, if you want to know, you know, what area you need help in, all of our teammates are readily available to get on a call with you if you need a call, or if you want to have a dinner and a lunch meeting and, you know, in-person coffee, we're always available.
Perfect. So we'll set up a dinner.
That's what I was going to say. Do you guys pay for the dinner, or do we pay for the dinner?
We'll just pretend we're doing something, right?
It depends on what you need out of the business. Do you want to succeed, or do you want to not succeed?
He saw a nice post of steak.
We know where your mind's at, Greg.
Where are we going after? Avro or
we know where your mind's at, Greg. Dinner's on this guy.
We gotta get something, right?
Sure, dinner's on me. I'm always hungry.
On this guy.
It's just, you know, competition is, you know, like you said, you know, competition you know, people don't realize sometimes you do bad things to the competition, and your business might not be successful, but you might be great at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You might end up going to the same place that you used to compete.
Yeah.
And then people were like, hey, you know, this is that guy that was saying all this stuff about us.
Yeah.
So it's always to keep very good playing field, you
Absolutely.
know, and there's no harm, you know, like people will bash their competition.
Yeah.
They'll say,
yeah, we have seen it already in our industry where there are people that unfortunately they say, you know what, forget all the other marketing companies, forget all the consultants they're not going to get it, they're liars.
yeah.
They'll say, hey, my cousin worked with these guys before, even though we've never heard of the cousins or the friends, and we don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. And we see that happen a lot. It's a lot of espionage that happens, but unfortunately, it's part of owning a business. Yeah. At the end of the day, whenever we help our consumers, our clients, they want to do the best step to be ahead of their competitors. So we understand that's a part of business, and we rather keep the even playing field as well.
I usually avoid those people.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, if the guy comes in and I'm buying something and it's trashing everything else about somebody else, usually I will not do business with that person because he's probably the most toxic one out of the competition, right? Yeah. Because even like with friends, if let's say I always have a saying, if your friend is talking shit about somebody else, probably when you're not there, he's talking shit about you.
Exactly.
You know, excuse my French. But you know, like usually, you know, when somebody is always downplaying somebody or always talking bad about somebody or breaking somebody down, is the only reason they do it is to make themselves look good because they have nothing. If you have something, you don't have to break down somebody, right? Yeah, so I always say, you know, and that's what comes in business as well. You know, that's why we never talk about people that are bad. Yeah. Or they're, you know, they might be doing something bad, but you know, who cares? You know, maybe to us they're bad, but to somebody else
they're good.
Yeah, you know, because like, you know, like people say, oh, this guy is crazy evil, and then you meet the guy is like
he's a really nice guy,
like the nicest person you can meet. He's doing things because, you know, like you cannot please everybody, right?
That's how Greg felt about me.
Now you guys look at you guys now, right? So it's always like that. It's like sometimes the first impression is the wrong one. You hate the person and you become friends. You know, like they're saying, you know, like even my son was saying this. He goes, Dad, I don't understand. And this is like last year. He was like 8 years old, right? He's like, you know, the girls, the girls get so offended, you know, in class because if somebody says a word, bad word or something, not bad word, but they get offended on everything and they don't talk to each other. He goes, dude, I don't understand it. You know, with me and my friends, we tell each other names. We call everything in the book. He goes, but we love each other, you know, but I don't know why girls are like this. I'm like, son, you know, they work differently. So you have to,
yeah,
you know, and he was like wondering the same thing. He goes, well, why is it that we'd say all this stuff to each other as friends, but we don't get offended, but this other person does.
Besides saying stuff to a friend, you won't get offended, but if you have a real friend, in my opinion, right? Like as an example, we're friends, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
We're friends, right? But
I don't know. Maybe
if you don't see a guy,
one-sided. Right?
What I'm trying to get at is that if you don't see your real friend, let's say for like a year and a half, you're both busy. But you see that guy after a year and a half, it's the same feeling. Yeah. It's the same relationship. Nothing changed.
Yeah, at all.
Guys are a little bit different.
They are.
Guys are made a little bit differently because it's much simpler for us, right? It's like there's no I don't know. Most of the time, there's no competition. Number one,
I think we're all overly competitive to the point where we're like, okay, this is fun now.
We don't say we're the prettiest one, or
none of that.
No, right? So that's
my hair looks better.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, you know. But you know, when it comes to competition, a lot of people would start bashing them. There's no tomorrow. I don't know why you would do that. You know, it's just
competition needs to be friendly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, for you to make it fun.
Yeah, it's just if it's toxic, it's bad, right? You just look at some people. You're inside. You're like, oh, you know what? This guy did this, but that's kind of a positive because you're. You know, I always say, you know what? When people start talking about you, or they say, you know what, they start competing with you, they in a way idolize you, or you become their mentor. You know, a lot of the competition is like a mentor for me because I always look at their stuff incognito, like, just like, so they don't see that I'm watching, but, you kind of watch them. And you want to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, what's going on in their life, how they're changing certain things. And you're like, you know what? Sometimes you're like, man, I want to have what he has or she has.
Not
right?
in a jealousy.
Not in a jealous way, but
yeah,
you're saying,
of course.
hey, I want to be, let's say, you know what, when I was looking at some podcast, I want to, every time we do a podcast, I kind of, I sit there and 1 hour to 1.5 hours, I listen to it once from the video. Then when I upload it, I listen to it again. So if we have 1,000 listening, probably 999 is me. But I listen to it. The reason why is because I want to see how I sound, what I say, what I don't say.
You study yourself.
Yeah, I study myself because I'm a Virgo, so I'm very critical about like I always wanted to be perfect, but at the same time,
of course,
you can't be perfect. So it's just crazy.
Chasing perfection.
Yeah. You try to, but there's nothing perfect in life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, also it's good to look at those because now you have some ideas on what your other competitors, I want to say competitors, are doing. But besides their ideas, you can also study yourself and say, what can I do differently?
Yeah.
And is my podcast too short compared to what everybody else is watching? And
yeah. And that's why we're trying to figure out, right, with the podcast. And everybody thinks, we thought podcast was simple. I was like, hey, during the pandemic, I kind of started doing some of the stuff. Like I got some lights because my son wanted to do stuff. He was like 5 years old. And we had nothing to do. So I was like ordering stuff from Amazon, right? It's like, and then I found out the hard way that, wow, it takes a team.
Oh, yeah.
You can't, because let's say even, we run the insurance, he has other businesses too. So we're running everything simultaneously and we're doing the podcast as well. And there is no way, either you have to hire a person that does your marketing, right?
Yeah.
Which again, what happens? It still costs you money. But the thing is, if that guy sucks, now you have to fire him.
Of course.
Or her. Now you have to go through a hiring process again, which what happens is now you wasted that. But if you have a consulting firm, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Not only that, you can maybe scream at somebody.
Yeah.
Without getting sued. Let's say if you're an employee, right, you scream at them, they're like, oh my God, he's rude. He said this to me, or, and then you get sued, right? But I think with having an outside, you have an outside outlook also.
Of course.
I think. Instead of like having like, unless you're like super big, then you have like 10, 20, 30 people working on your stuff. I hope we get to that point. But I think if you're starting up or a mid-sized business, I think you guys probably are the best way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it not only you can pressure you to do things, right? And you guys are pressured to show us. Let's say if we hired you, right?
Exactly.
Our goal is to maximize what you're going to give us based on the money we're spending.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to maximize the results that you're going to give us so that you don't lose us. An employee doesn't care of losing.
Of course not.
They're going to do the minimum. Remember, we're talking about $25 an hour. He's going to give you $25.
Of course.
$15 is going to give you the $15. Now $20 on the burger, like burger joints and stuff. Now they're losing employees.
Of course.
They cannot afford it. So I think that's one of the things. What I want to ask you, a question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What three things I think we can get out of that? What three valuable thing you can give to our listeners, right? The major three things for them to look for them maybe to possibly, if they're doing it on their own, and a lot of times I say, it's good to do it on their own. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of realize why they need you. It's like your kids, right? You guys have kids?
No.
No, right?
No.
So your parents are raising you, right? And You don't know what happened into, how much they put time into you, what goes through managing you, why they call you at night, right? Let's say if your mom is calling you at night, or your dad is calling you at like every 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, just to see where you are.
Absolutely.
Some people want like locations, right? And we're all being kids, you know. My mom used to call me, my sister used to call me, and it was frustrating at times, right? But when you become a parent, then you know all those pains, and you're like, man, I should have maybe done something different to make it easier, right? And sometimes the same way with consumers is sometimes when they go on their own, and then they see the pain and they come to us. With our business too, sometimes they're like, oh, what do you guys do? Oh, you just give me numbers. And then they go and searching for one company, they get a quote.
They shop around.
They don't get a quote there, or it's too high. And then they're going another one. It takes another 30 minutes of their time.
Or
and
they
get
quit. Declined.
And they get declined nowadays. And then they call us and like, oh, you know what? I'm like, what happened? And they're like, oh, I didn't have time. But I know their research did, and it was bull crap. You know, they just didn't have enough. It took them a lot of time, and they didn't understand a lot of the concepts, so they came to us, right? So sometimes I'll say, let them go.
Absolutely.
And then they'll come back to you even harder, you know? What is 3 things you can give us today? What can we take out of this podcast that, let's say, the most 3 things, important factors, if they don't even listen to this, what's that 1 minute or so that they can take that will help them, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question, actually.
And with that, of course, giving...
Yeah, absolutely.
away.
I think there's going to be a couple things. First of all, ask yourself the right question. By the way, these are in no particular order, and it's just my opinion, is ask the right questions. What I mean by that is ask yourself, what are you doing wrong that's hurting your business? Those are questions that a lot of business owners are afraid, because sometimes pride gets in the way and they're not willing to admit maybe they are doing something wrong. Ask yourself the right questions. Put together a proper business plan. Put together a timeline of that business plan. At 4 months in, what do you want to see? At 1 year in, what do you want to see? At 5 years in, what do you want to see? What are your expectations? And often revisit that business plan. Did you hit your goals? Did you not hit your goals? What can you do to now meet those goals? And maybe something changed, whether it was in the market or in your personal life, that affected those goals. How can you shift with that change that just happened? Adaptability. And I guess the third valuable opinion that I have is, don't be afraid to take the risk. Put some trust in these marketing agencies that are available, such as us and our competitors and the consultants. Don't be afraid to take the risk of, in a sense, giving the control to somebody else, because now this outside look that I might have will bring a whole other perspective that you didn't know, just based on, like I said, the judgment that humans have, based on the judgment and my experience with marketing, my experience in certain fields, or consulting with multiple clients. I might be able to bring a perspective to the table that you didn't have before because you had shut it out. So that's one of the things. Don't be afraid to take the risk. It might sound like you're spending a lot of money, but the budget's also not always a large amount. You can start off small with a small consultant, then grow once that time comes.
Absolutely.
Very good answer.
Do you have any questions?
No,
You run out of questions?
Now I have a question for the both of you. If there's one thing that you could take away from the conversation we had today, what would be possibly the most
send us
valuable?
the invoice. Sold.
Charge all your clients.
We're afraid to answer that question because, that's a trick question.
Yeah.
Because if you said, I got this out of it, then he can charge us.
Exactly.
Right? So this is a kind
He's
of...
selling us.
Yeah. So it's just...
He was prepared.
Actually, that's what I've been thinking about this entire time.
It's like, how do I charge this guy? If I can do this. So, you should have said, okay, where do we, where's the application? Here's the application.
Absolutely.
The signatures.
So what your viewers should know, that this was the free consultation they requested.
This is what we do. Everybody that comes in. And of course, we want to give value to the clients. To the listeners, right? and we want to share as much as we can, and without holding back. And with our, with our businesses, we don't hold back a lot of the stuff, because whatever it is for us, it's all the public. We don't have trade secrets, right? Yeah. Whatever we do, and I think with marketing, it is. I think one valuable thing is today is knowing that it takes time.
Yeah.
Right. And the importance of finding the right tools, like you suggest, some of the suggestions and some of the things that you guys use that it's not available to the public as well, right? Because I'm sure you guys have internal softwares, and internal things that you guys have. Obviously, we as individuals, there's no way we're gonna. I mean, how many apps can you download?
Of course.
There's, millions of things, and every day there's something else that comes up, which is the same concept, just different name.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I wonder if they're just selling that software and people are just, let's say a Opus Pro and versus, let's say there's another River something. There's so many apps that every time that come in, do the 10 clips, do this clips.
Yeah.
And they're the same. If you look at the thing, it's them doing the same thing, doing the scripts, doing this. Everything is the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, but that's the thing with the public, you have the copy and paste. With you guys have more tailored approach to it.
Absolutely.
That's what I took out of what you guys do.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it all. You pretty much just said it all.
Just
what do you want me to say?
Check. Come on.
He still has some convincing to do.
Yeah, it's not that
Dinner's
easy.
on him.
Tough sales guy.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything unless dinner is involved. It has
dinner
to be,
will be on me once you get that check. I'll cash and I'll get you some dinner.
1,600 calories minimum. That's a huge steak, right? But that's it's just it's just the concepts we want to bring to listeners. That's our main goal.
Yeah.
Do we have anything that we missed? Anything that you want to add?
No, I think everything was kind of discussed where we really wanted to. I wish the both of you the best of luck on the podcast, because
Thank you.
I like what you guys are doing. You guys are mixing up different topics that certainly not just myself as a business owner or consumer would want to listen to, but I think as a regular everyday person, if I'm in the car, I'm gonna listen to your podcast and take something out of it every day.
Well, I think we covered mostly everything in this conversation. I don't think you have any questions. I don't have any questions. What is it that you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah.
Just kind of feel free, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So first things first, I want to thank you guys for having me on your podcast today. It's actually been really fun talking about these different topics. But if you're listening to the Dollars and Dreams Hour podcast, and you happen to reach this point of the video, and I hope you did, and you're a business owner, send us a DM on Instagram or shoot us an email. It's info@exceed, XCEEDFWD.com. Let us know you watched the podcast, and the first 10 consumers to reach out, we'll go ahead and get you a free consultation and 10% off your business plan.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I think our listeners can get a benefit of it, and I hope
so.
They take that as a benefit. And I mean, you've helped us not only on this podcast, but throughout the whole thing when we had questions. And I want to thank you, Arman, for being here and giving us the insights.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
That was really helpful for us too. We kind of got a consultation. So we thank you for that too. And hopefully we'll have you, and hopefully you'll be willing to come back to us again and kind of brief us again on new things that come out, because your field, I'm sure every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, something new comes out.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we'll have you back, and you want to come back.
I definitely do.
And with that said, I hope everybody enjoyed it, and to see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, and have a good night.